Well, thank goodness, in August of 42, the Soviets at Stalingrad won a huge battle, stopped them. Also, at the end of 42 and into 43, we're going to land down here. We're going to land our troops right here. Okay? Anybody know about that? Have you ever heard that we landed in North Africa? I never knew that when I was your age. That's where the first American troops landed, in Morocco. Okay? And those troops were sent there because the Germans had come in and taken all this area, and the Germans owned all of this. See the purple down here? And the Germans wanted Egypt. Have you heard of Egypt? But who owned Egypt at that time? The British. Are the British on our side, or are they on the German side?
Our side?
Yes, the British and the Soviets are on our side. So write that down. So you got the Brits, you got the Americans, and you got the Soviet Union. And there's others, Australia and others. But those are the three main countries that are going to fight Germany and Italy in this theater, okay? Meanwhile, we also have to fight Japan. You see how big this is? You see why they call this a world war? It's all over the world, right? Okay, this is called Operation Torch. Can somebody tell me how much time I have? Till? 2:07? Okay, so Operation Torch here in 1943, okay? Stalin is screaming for a second front. He's saying, you've got to pull the German troops away from here so that they don't take over Moscow and Stalingrad, right? So we land here, okay? And it's called Operation Torch. It's very successful. This is where Patton, have you heard of General Patton? You want to see a good movie about this, you watch the movie Patton, because he comes into North Africa. And the Americans and the British are over here, right? British are over here. So the British move this way under Montgomery. The Americans under Patton move this way, and we push the Germans up here into a big battle here, and the Allies win. Who are the Allies?
Us?
That's us, U.S., Britain, right? Soviet Union. So then the next step is to go here and take Sicily, okay? So Patton takes his troops and he takes Sicily, and we're moving the Germans right out of North Africa. Then we go into Italy, and we land here. You've heard of Rome, right? Anzio Beach. And that's where, guess what? Italy quits. They just quit. They don't hang Mussolini yet, but they capture him, right? But guess what happens? We don't move fast enough. Who's going to come in and take over Italy? Who?
Germans.
Yeah, the Germans. The Germans are going to come flooding in here with all their troops, okay? The Germans are going to come down here, and they're going to occupy Italy and take on the Americans, okay? It's going to be some massive fighting here in 44, 45. Okay, meanwhile, Stalin says, this isn't a good enough front. You need to come in, you need to hit Hitler where it hurts, right in the middle, right? So now we start bombing. We start bombing the crap out of Germany, right? Air war is really big, right? Where do you think the planes take off from? Where do the planes take off from?
Great Britain.
Great Britain. So these are the good guys up here. The British are up here. Okay? So, does anybody know about D-Day? Anybody know about D-Day? So when the guy says that he fought in North Africa, he's probably either going to end up in Italy or he's going to end up in D-Day, right? Because these guys, did they get to go home? This is not Vietnam. This is not Korea, where you go. This is not, where you got a 1-year tour of duty. This is like you're in until the war's over, okay? So these guys that were in early, a lot of them have passed away because they got in early, like in 43. They were older. My guess is the guys that you interview are going to be like 85 or 86, and they're going to be too young to be in here, and they might be in the invasion of Normandy. Most cases, they joined the war up in here, They might have been in the Battle of the Bulge. So let's write these two big battles down. First you have the invasion. First you have the invasion of Normandy. See this X right here? Right here? I'm going to use a different color. Write that down. Okay. Does anybody know what that's called again? Right here? You see that? D-Day, June 6, 1944. Right here. But the Americans were really smart. They got the Germans to believe that it was going to happen right here. Okay? Because this is the shortest spot. That's at Calais. The Germans thought we were coming across at Calais. It was a big fake out. Okay? And instead, we came in over here, and it was the Australians, the British, and the Americans. And there were 5 beaches. But there was a huge Atlantic wall here. The Germans had built a wall here. I mean, literally. Have you ever seen pictures of that? You need to Google D-Day, Atlantic Wall. And you're going to see huge cement barriers with big, huge howitzers sticking out of them. Have you ever seen pictures like that? And they would just boom, 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 boom. Big machine guns, just boom, 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 boom. And the beaches down below, and they're up on the wall, and they just pick them off, right? But the Americans, we came in with the largest amphibious attack in the history of the world. Okay, more troops and men than had ever been done before, and they landed on the beaches, and a lot of people died. And if you end up interviewing a D-Day person, that would really be cool, because it'd be a person who survived that attack. Once we took Normandy, then it was a race to get to Berlin, which is somewhere over here is Berlin, right? Berlin. Okay. I butchered that. Let's try that again. Berlin. B-E-R-L-I-N, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of over there. So, but on our way through, what had happened to France, by the way? Anybody know? In 1940, what happened to France before we ever got in the war? Anybody know? Anybody want to guess? They were taken over by the Germans. So we liberated France first. And then when we got to the edge here, we got right in here in the forests of Belgium here, in the Ardennes, we got in there, and guess what Hitler did? Anybody know? It's called the Battle of the Bulge. What did he do? What did he do?
He surrounded them.
Well, he had counterattacked, right? And he pushed the Americans back in a big bulge. That's why he called it the Battle of the Bulge. And the reason they were successful is because the weather was so bad. But once the weather cleared, we could use our planes, because by this time, we've knocked out pretty much the whole German Air Force by the end of this is December of 44, right? And so the Battle of the Bulge, we end up winning that battle. And once we win that battle, it's a race to Berlin. Meanwhile, the Soviets are coming like this. The Soviets have come through Poland, liberated Poland, and guess what? We let them go to Berlin first. And the reason for that politically was the Soviets lost about 20 million people in this war. That's a lot of bodies. We lost, I don't know, I'm going to say 250, 300,000. That doesn't sound like as big a number as 20 million, does it? Okay, remember the Soviets had taken the brunt of this war for 2 more years than we were even in it, right? Okay, so that's it. So once we captured Berlin, the Germans surrendered. Is that good? Okay, everybody understand that? Any questions about that? Any questions? Okay, so let's move on. We got to move on to the next map. Whoopsie. Okay, what is this a map of? Yeah, this is by Japan. Do you know where Japan is? Japan, I'd have you come up. You want to come up right now? Show us where Japan is very quickly. Okay, circle Japan. Yeah, circle it. Yep, that's Japan. Okay. Biggest city in Japan is what?
Tokyo.
Tokyo, and that's right here. Okay. There's Tokyo. Seoul, what is this area over here? What's that?
Korea.
That's Korea, right? What's this over here?
China.
China. What's this over here?
Manchuria.
Man. In English, it's what? Man. Anybody know? Manchuria. Okay, Mongolia is over here. Okay? So, let's talk a little bit about the Japanese. The Japanese actually start in 1937. Right, while Hitler is thinking about taking over Austria and Czechoslovakia, the Japanese are also very expansionist. They got a small island with a lot of people. They want places for their people to be, and they want to control trade, and they want to be a number one power, right? They want to be a big dog, okay? So, to do that, they decide to attack. And the first thing they do is they go in here into what I call Eastern China. So they're going to go into Eastern China. They go in here to Manchuria, and they take those areas. And then, in 1940, they take Indochina. Okay? Have you ever heard of Vietnam?
Yeah.
This is where Vietnam is, right here. Okay, Vietnam's right there. So, you can see where it says Saigon. This is Vietnam, right along the edge here. This is Thailand. This is Cambodia, Laos, right? Anybody know where Laos is?
I do.
You know where Laos is? I hope so. Right there, right? Okay, this is Indochina, okay? And that's 1940. And that's when, by 1940, the Americans said enough is enough, okay? And we stopped selling them scrap metal. Because they were using the scrap metal that we sold them to build what?
Weaponry.
Weaponry, specifically what? What was their big weapon since they were an island? What?
Planes.
Say it louder.
Planes.
Yeah, what did they call their planes?
The Zero.
The Zero. And they were high quality planes, right? Okay, so they were making their weapons out of U.S. materials, and we finally got smart and said enough is enough, and we had an embargo. What's an embargo? Anybody here? Nobody knows what an embargo is? Nobody knows? Yeah. Yeah, it's a boycott. We will not sell them something. We're embargoing that material. Okay, so no more steel, no more iron, none of that stuff. Okay, what else did we stop selling them? They needed these things in order to fly their planes. Yeah, oil, gasoline, diesel fuel, that kind of stuff, right? So what did they do? When we stopped selling them that stuff, that's when they invaded Indochina, and they started going because they wanted what? They wanted to get their what? What were they after?
Land.
Well, they wanted land, but they also needed what?
Resource.
Resources like oil and steel and iron. So now they're going to go out and get it, right? So the Americans are like, you got to stop doing this. So then the Japanese decided that we were a thorn in their side, right? And so they, right here, is where they attacked. Okay, what is that place?